Welcome back to the third count 1, 2, 3 third wheel podcast. I'm your host Shaps with my co-host Caleb.
What up? What made you stop counting, man? We could have been the seventh wheel podcast, bro. Why'd you stop? You were so confident in your counting, bro. You stopped at 3?
I don't know what comes after that.
Oh, me neither. As a matter of fact, I was really hoping you'd instruct me on how to count here. I stopped watching Sesame Street, oddly enough, at 3 and the letter H. Anyway, well, guys, I'm excited. I want to talk a little bit about video games, and then I got another topic that I think would cover the rest of the episode.
Sure, yeah.
Are you playing any of the new games that have come out? There's like Indiana Jones. There's what's the one from Obsidian that just came out? Avowed. Are you playing anything new going on?
I'm currently in the just trying to mod up the older games to look really, really good. So right now I have a whole bunch of mods downloading as we speak.
You didn't get Avowed? I'm surprised. I thought you're real big on that one.
Oh, I was just like, I thought it was interesting. I might honestly pass on it, but it's also, I'm never going to really pay full price until it's something that's like really important to me. So
what do you think about Obsidian cutting out their romance companion system? Because like the past 2 games apparently have cut that mechanic completely out.
I never thought it was like critical to their games past. I can only really think of KOTOR doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And
KOTOR 2 especially.
Yeah, I think that was more like, it wasn't quite rudimentary. I actually really did like I think it was believable chemistry with a lot of the characters. Yeah. But yeah, I never thought that was like a tentpole for them. Mm-hmm. So, and it's never have been.
But like Baldur's Gate 3 and other games just have the romance mechanic in it. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, BioWare used to be the kings of that.
And Obsidian just never really I think they made that clear with Outer Worlds, where they didn't include it there either.
Yeah, no, definitely.
And people were like wondering why. It's just, again, not like critical for them. I don't know why. Maybe it takes up too much time or whatever. But
yeah, because I'm replaying KOTOR 2.
They're smaller games, so yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So like, I mean, for some reason, their games always do well, but or commercially, like money, like they make money, but for some reason they always act like they don't have money. They're on a time crunch.
KOTOR 1 and 2 are probably their biggest games. As far as scale goes.
I was gonna say, so BioWare made the first one, Obsidian made the second one.
KOTOR 2. Yeah. I think that's their biggest game as far as scale goes, because like the rest of them are pretty like small and short and sweet. So
I was saying you can tell because they only had like 16 months to make it. So I'm replaying Knights of the Old Republic 2, KOTOR 2, The Sith Lords, and I sent him plenty of screenshots of really cool stuff, and he hasn't responded back. So I'm very, screw you.
I don't know what the intent is. You just showed me a picture of like Nihilus. I'm like, okay,
did you get on your knees and start praying, buddy?
I was already doing that when you interrupted me with another picture of Nihilus. I have my altar set up already, Caleb.
I should do him for Halloween this year, bro. Nobody would get the reference except you, but it would be really cool.
Which is a shame. Yeah, it really is kind of like a weird hidden gem with a huge cult following. It's weird.
It's not even just like a hidden, like not just, it is a hidden gem, but like it's one of the best games ever made. Like I'm sorry, hands down.
But you never see it on any big list.
Yeah, exactly. Because for sure the game wasn't finished when it came out, and it has that reputation of like the first one was great, but then the second one was lesser than. But through the mods, bro, like the people went in and restored all the cut content, and it's phenomenal.
Holds up.
Yeah. Like so, like it's weird to call a KOTOR 2 vanilla. Like whenever you say, "Oh, if I play KOTOR 2 vanilla," you couldn't get HK-47 until 4 planets in. It's like toward the end of the game, you finally unlock him.
Right.
But with the restored content mod, you can get them like almost as soon as you leave Telos. And it's great. So it's so exciting. What?
One of my favorite memories in KOTOR 2 is when there's like in that first like city you go to, and there's like a guard outside the Zerka building, and if you kill him, they just replace him with another dude, and they keep on replacing him, and it has different dialogue every time. Like, oh no, I heard what happened to the last guy. It's just like, that's genius, I never saw that kind of creativity back then. But
there's a glitch where if you keep, because the first time I did that, and it's actually outside the exchange building. I know what you're talking about.
Oh, I thought it was Zerka, my bad.
No, you can't kill the Zerka guard, but you can kill the exchange thug. But eventually, I think after like the third or fourth one, they just stop replacing it, and then you're stuck.
Yeah,
which sucks.
Right.
But anyway, I don't know if they fixed that in the mod, but My favorite memory, one of my favorite video game memories ever, was fixing HK-47 for the first time on KOTOR 2. I remember it was like 6 a.m. For some reason, I woke up, and it's probably because I had sleep apnea. I woke up and I couldn't go back to bed. And the night before, I had collected all the parts, and Dad made me turn off the TV, and it was too late, so I had to.
You played it blind.
So I woke up and I was like, oh, well, I'm awake. I'm just gonna get on the game.
Yeah.
I got on the Xbox 360 and I turned it on, and that first night he powered on and he's like, processing. You hear his voice again, same actor, and I was like, I'll never forget it. The sun wasn't even up yet. It was dark out, and it was just like, I woke up early to play that game, and it was just such a fun, because he's like now he's my favorite droid across all of Star Wars, and it was like turning him on for the first time again. It was like saying hi to an old friend when you're a kid. When you're an adult, it's kind of creepy, putting all this stock in a fictional character, but
Nah, dude, they stay with us.
Yeah,
which is funny because he's actually like pretty chaotic neutral. Very borderline evil sometimes.
Right. No, he's diabolical, dude. I love.
Did they ever explain in the restored content? They ever explain where the other assassin droids were coming from?
Yeah, there's a whole level where he goes to the factory and blows it up. Yeah. Wow. Oh yeah. Because like in the vanilla game,
they just show up.
Yeah,
and they're like, we can't. They don't know. You don't know where they're coming from.
Exactly. Yeah,
and they just stop coming eventually.
Yeah. You get to the end of the game and they're done. But no, in the restored, they fix that. So I don't remember who made them, but there is a level where you figure all that out. HK-47 goes to the factory himself. You just play as him, and you just kill all of them. And you blow the factory up. So it's like, oh, so good. He gets his revenge finally. So anyway, one of the best games ever. I think everyone should play it and restore the mods, because like vanilla, it's still fun. Like I still fell in love with the game as a kid playing vanilla on the Xbox with all the glitches. Excuse me. But yeah, the mods just like it fixes it, and it just makes it a good game, like hands down.
Also, like world's easiest mod to download, because like a lot of versions just come packaged with it.
Yeah,
it's so well done.
Did you know the Switch?
Yeah, I know.
Tried to
They announced it in a teaser, like a trailer.
Yeah, they teased the restored content. Like, oh man, like that's great. I'd love to play it on the Switch and just have a game ready, but they weren't able to port it, sadly. So they just canceled the restored content, which is, I don't know legally how that played out, because it's like
they changed the writing in their description to reflect that.
Well, I still say it's false advertisement, because they said pre-order the game and then later we'll give you restored content. Yeah. That's the only reason I would have gotten it for Switch, is if it had the mod. If it was vanilla, I'm not playing vanilla again without that. It's just like I'm spoiled now, like with the mod. So anyway. So yeah, so
you should read up. There's a big story. I don't know if you ever read about it, but that's actually a really fascinating story. It's a huge deal of like the people behind that mod.
Yeah. No, I did.
Like it was years and years and years of work.
We could do an episode on that at some point, but yeah, no. I've read it countless times, dude. It's so much fun, and they actually, I think the Darth Bandon, whatever the guy's name, the guy that helped work on it, he was kind of a POS, and the internet chased him off the first time, and then somebody else came up and said, I'm Darth so-and-so, and I'm ready to continue the work that he started. It was just him again. He just changed his name trying to get back in, and people figured it out. Right. So, but I'm glad it got done. I'm glad, like, there were just so many passionate people that were like, we need to fix this game. This game is worth preserving and making it what it could have been. And everyone agrees. They tried to contact the original developers and say, yeah, this is where we were going. They had to hire people to write a script to finish the droid planet, and yeah, so they did all that, and they fixed it.
And there's so many games out there that have that treatment where they just have a bunch of content that's there but never released. And so luckily KOTOR 2 was one of the few blessed. But
I just love KOTOR 2's mechanic where you turn your companions into Jedi. I love that. You get their influence up, and then you talk him through, like there's a guy who's a war veteran and he has dreams of what he did in the war, all the horrors he committed, and you convince him to leave that behind and to pursue being a Jedi, and it's so good. I'm
telling you, the original like idea of the Exile and Revan just like joining forces in KOTOR 3, if it ever came out, like, man, that would have been the absolute best trilogy, I think. Like
in anything Star Wars ever, Because I know Jedi Outcast, or is that what it is, with Kyle Katarn? Yeah. Like I know those games have a good following too, and those are pretty good.
Which those didn't even finish either. There was supposed to be a fourth one. But yeah.
The first thing Disney did upon buying LucasArts was cut it and shut it down.
Yeah, because they rebooted everything. They said everything that's not in the movies is no longer canon. They had to rebuild everything from scratch. And they brought back some stuff. Some stuff.
Thrawn. They brought back Thrawn. They killed the canon just to bring him right back.
Well, like everyone thought they were going to bring back Kyle Katarn. Well, they did a weird thing where they didn't bring back legend characters, but they made new characters that were basically the legend characters.
Yeah.
So like Maydeen, who's like the really popular Imperial defector, who's in a lot of the Star Wars games. He was in all the Rogue Leader, Rogue Squadron games. They replaced him with like another character in Rebels. And then like there was I think Caden is like the Kyle Katarn character, you know?
For sure.
So yeah, it's a lot of just like, I don't know, why not just bring the name back? You know, like he doesn't have to be exactly the same, but like the name enough shows that you at least respect a little bit of the heart. Like I get there's a ton of Star Wars lore that was stupid.
Yeah.
So like every franchise has that, right? The extended universe, there's so many stupid parts, but respect like the really good parts too. You know, like there's some really good stories. And I think Dark Empire handled what became Episode 9 way better. Like the idea of the Emperor returning. It kind of sounds like a stupid idea, but if you read Dark Empire, like it's a much better, like well executed plan.
Oh yeah.
And then like Thrawn has this whole trilogy, you know, like Timothy Zahn wrote all 3 of them, and then he came back to write the new book, which is really cool. But it's like,
imagine have to start over with a lesser story because they won't use your old one.
And you know, Thrawn. A lot of people argue that the current Thrawn is like a watered down version of what he used to be.
I believe it.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I think he's fine the way he is, but right now, but like, yeah, it was a lot deeper back then.
Yeah,
we can't handle that now.
No,
we simplified.
You know, I think the reason they did the canceling of Legends was because they just didn't want to pay royalties. That has to be it. Like they had to have been like, oh, we can't just use these characters.
I think they inherited it. It is a mess. It was a mess.
Yeah,
they inherited a mess. There are a lot of stuff. But again, like it's the same reason that like Marvel and DC reboot their franchise like every few years because it gets super messy as soon as you dip into the multiverse. You know, like it's crazy.
Yeah.
But they, you know, a lot of people were just like, well, are you going to bring back some stuff? And they're like, yeah, we'll bring back the really important stuff. But it just took so long when they get to anything.
Yeah.
I mean, like think of how long it took for them to confirm if Boba Fett was dead or not.
Right.
It took a long time.
Yeah. Which you knew he wasn't dead, so it's like just get.
Yeah, it was a matter of. It wasn't a matter of if; it was a matter of when.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until season 2 of Mandalorian when they finally confirmed he was alive, and they teased him in the very first episode, like, "Oh, is he still? Is he? Maybe." He's like,
"Yeah,
get it over with, dude. Everyone loves Boba Fett."
And they canceled Legends, and like you said, they reused some of the same plot points, like the same exact plot point of him crawling out of the pit is what happened in the books. You know, it's like, so why not just? You know, it just doesn't make sense to me, Disney. I don't know. Kathleen Kennedy, man, she was such a terrible
They didn't
choice.
even like have a whole bunch of like new characters either, because a lot of them were just like spin-offs of like Filoni's characters. So like, you know, I'm not talking about the new trilogy. I'm talking about like the shows. You know, like Din Djarin from Mandalorian, like that was a good new character.
Sure,
but like everyone else was like pretty much already there. I mean, like
they brought back Rebels, they brought back all this other stuff. You know, I see what you mean, but it's because like they didn't have a choice. Because like the sequel trilogy really butt effed them. You know, like they dug themselves into such a hole to where
it just goes to show like if they would have done it way sooner, where if they would have expanded on like Clone Wars and Rebels and really made a big, almost like could have been like an Avengers event. You know, like if they brought all these franchises together, all these different stories and tied them in, because like Mandalorian, if there was no sequel trilogy, could have really built up Dark Empire, you know, but it didn't because it already came out. So
well, it's almost like that's what they were kind of trying to do at first, where it's like once they got the sequel trilogy out the way, it made not as much money and people were pissed off already. Like once they got that done, and then it's like they tried to go that route later. Like I think that's my problem with Mando season 2 was like, oh god, here comes all the cameos. Here, god, Ahsoka, she's setting up the next show.
And season 3 got even worse.
Yes, and it's like they kept bringing in people to set up more shows. Like Kathleen Kennedy, she saw they had a hit and was like, okay, we can springboard off of this.
Right.
So anyway, It's almost like they were trying to set up an Avengers event. That like Thrawn came back in Ahsoka, and it's like, oh man, this is leading toward Dark Empire, and they're gonna have to bring back Mando. They're gonna have to bring back Boba Fett just to fight. Ahsoka. We have to fight Thrawn. You know, like that's what this is gonna be. But then now that was like what 3 years ago already. It's like or 2.
Yeah,
I was like, I don't know anymore, dude. What we're doing. Yeah, we're back to where we were, which is nowhere.
Imagine a world where like Thrawn was the main villain of the trilogy, not just one movie shoehorn in, if he was like the main villain, the Thanos of 3 consecutive Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
Like,
oh
man, would have been great.
There was a fun scene in Mando season 3 where you see the Council of the Empire coming back.
Yeah, that was cool.
And it was like, well, how's the Resurrection Project going? Because they're talking about the Emperor. Like, how's that going? Oh, it's still taking time.
He's still baking in there.
Yeah. Episode 9 isn't for another 30 years. So, and then it's just really like that could have hinted at so much, man. There's so much.
And they're like, well, Thrawn's coming back. Is he though? Is he?
Yeah.
And they're all like intimidated by him. He's like, it's almost like almost like the Emperor returning himself. Like it's like, oh my gosh, like if Thrawn comes back, like then we're all fine. Thrawn's dead, and it's like that's cool. That's I like that.
Yeah, it was great. So I don't know. That was like one scene in like 20 years.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. No, it ain't gonna happen. I think Star Wars is toast. If Marvel can't make Daredevil fun and nobody watched the show, then I think like Star Wars is in so much worse of a place. Because like Skeleton Crew came out and it bombed, and I heard it was really good.
A lot of people liked it.
Yeah, and then it's just like nobody watched it. We're all done. We were so done by that point. Like I know
I wasn't even hating on it. I just like I'm burnt out.
Yeah, exactly. I know nobody really nobody in the general audience agrees that Rogue One sucked. I think it sucked balls, but I think a lot of people liked it. Yeah. And I acknowledge that. Like it made a lot of money and it has a fan base. But that's as far as Disney was willing to go creativity wise.
Yeah.
Like Solo didn't push any boundaries. I thought Solo was pretty good, but nobody watched it.
I didn't rewatch Solo. I've only seen it once.
Yeah. When it came out. Like you probably like it a lot more this time.
Yeah, probably.
It flopped. It's just like they've never had a good handle on what the audience wants, what movies to push and to put a big budget behind. Like they've just been so bad at calculating what audiences want to see. Yeah. And then of course their trilogy, their biggest problem was they didn't map out where it was going to go. Like that was their biggest flaw. Was like, we'll make the first one, it'll just be A New Hope, and then we'll just see where it goes from there.
Solo even teased Darth Maul from Clone Wars at the very end. So it's like there was a nugget of an idea there. But yeah.
Yeah, and then it bombed. It's the same with the end credit scene of the Marvels. Like, oh god, the X-Men are here. Oh, nobody watched the movie. We can't go. We can't do that anymore.
Nope,
Shoot.
Sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
It never happened.
Yeah. And then same thing with Sam Wilson. It's like, oh god, like the leader. He's predicting. Oh, nobody watched the movie. And so it's like
my predictions are. Wait, where is everyone? Well, yeah, there's no one here to hear my predictions.
Yeah. So yeah, they're gonna have such a hard time winning their audience back. Honestly. For some reason, people keep thinking Disney's going to retcon the original sequel trilogy. No. And it's not going to happen. Like, they would never admit defeat.
I think they're going to quietly push it aside and do something with Ahsoka season 2 and set up something. Like, it feels like they do have the makings of something great. Yeah. Like, even though Ahsoka isn't everyone's favorite, it was solid. It was pretty solid. Good cast, good, likable characters. And they're setting up something really, really freaking big. So I'm like, and Mandalorian did the same thing. So I'm like, I think they can do something of a almost like soft reboot in a way without trifling, without going too far into the sequel trilogy. Like as long as they drop that idea, and just move forward with something completely different, it could be good. It could be a good event. I'm a little hesitant on this Mandalorian movie. I think that's a little weird, to be honest. Unless that's going to be the big tie-in movie, which it might be. But
it's supposed to be the end
of this whole Filoniverse thing.
No, of just the Mandalorian story.
Yeah, it's just weird.
They're trying to retire Din Djarin. I think Pedro Pascal is just tired of the role. Honestly, I think he doesn't like that his face can't be in it as much. I think he hates that personally. Yeah, maybe since he's blown up, because now he's in kind of everything. Yeah. But in everything, he's just at the forefront. So I think he's tired of having to wear the mask all the time. Yeah. The same way that Jennifer Lawrence got sick of
the blue paint,
and all, she got sick of it, and she got so famous that being in that costume was beneath her.
Maybe.
And now,
I don't know.
ironically, she's not in anything.
I don't know Pascal, like,
for sure,
that much, but
right. I was reading in season 2, he was starting to complain about wearing the mask all the time, and so that's why they did a whole thing where at the end he took off his mask and then was like, "Shoot, well, we wrote that into a hole." So then season 3, it's like, "Did you take your mask off? Yeah, you're banished." They had to put that in there.
That's what the mouse said to him.
Yeah, and the thing with the movie is, so I think it's supposed to be called Mando and Grogu or something.
Yeah.
Baby Yoda, I hate Grogu. I hate the name Grogu. I love Baby Yoda though.
Yeah.
He was never supposed to come back in Boba Fett.
Yeah.
And Kathleen Kennedy was like, "We want to sell more toys, write him in." And it really pissed off.
Justice.
Yeah, and it really pissed off Jon Favreau because like that's, I'm trying to just make my shows, man. Like, the only reason Mando's...
Did he actually make a comment about it?
Yeah.
Really?
Well, behind closed doors, apparently.
Okay.
He said he was debating leaving and letting Kathleen Kennedy watch the franchise burn, is how insiders worded it. It was like he was so mad she made him bring back Baby Yoda that he said, "I might just leave and let the franchise burn and let her watch it." And like literally those were the words that he said behind closed doors.
That's not what you want to hear.
No.
Oof.
And
perfect note they could have left on.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So I think he's finishing up the Mando Grogu movie, and then I think he's probably done after that. Like,
that's so sad.
And it's interesting because she's retiring at the end of the year, Kathleen Kennedy. Apparently, they let that slip. Somebody leaked it because I think she wanted a big exit, and she wanted to be like, I've retired from, because when it got leaked, she's like, no, I'm not. I'm always going to produce movies, blah, blah, blah. She wanted to like have a big going away party.
Yeah.
And she's pissed that it just leaked because she never said, well, no, I'm not retiring. That's a lie. She just said, I will always make films. I will always produce movies. The way she worded it, you could tell she was just pissed that she didn't get to tell people it got leaked. But I don't know. Her leaving is too little too late. It's a big thing, her being gone, but the fact that it happened so late into her killing Star Wars, driving it into the ground, they're never going to recover, dude.
Yeah.
It's the damage is done. Like their best bet, and they're not going to do this, is to just take a 5-year hiatus, let people kind of crave Star Wars again, the same way you kind of want fast food every now and then. Be like, I want to go to Whataburger. Oh, look, there's one across the street. Like, you need to just don't make anything and just let hype let the demand rise on its own, because like the way they're just pumping out garbage, like it's not gonna get people back, so. They're not going to do that because they already brought back Thrawn, and they need to, kind of keep pushing that. So I don't know. It's a shame. Like I really wish she had gotten fired like 5 years ago. I remember when I was wishing for her to get fired, they renewed her contract for like 4 years, and I was like, ugh. So I don't know. It's a darn shame, but Disney deserves this. They deserve the failures.
Does she have a plan? No, but she has a concept of a plan.
Yeah. You're trying to get me back into politics. How dare you?
No, dude. That was just something off the top of my head.
Yeah.
I'm just that clever.
Well, let's see. We talked
about... there's another subject you said was
Yeah. I was hoping we'd get to the 30-minute mark before it happened. But George R.R. Martin, he has been writing the Game of Thrones... Well, it's called A Song of Ice and Fire. Yeah. But if you're not familiar, it's known to most of you kids as a Game of Thrones. Yeah. Historically, the show was really good for the first 4 seasons. 5th season, not great. 6th season, better than season 5. Then season 7 was total dog. Did you watch season 7?
I watched everything. Yeah.
Did you like it?
No.
Okay, I wasn't sure because like a lot of people at the time liked it.
I think there was I was super hyped over it.
Yeah.
And I thought the first episode was. Yeah, I liked the first couple of. Was episode 1 or episode 2 where the Night King dies?
No, that's season 8. Season 7's the penultimate season.
Oh, yeah. Well, in that case, yeah, I liked season 7 a little bit.
Oh no, 7 was garbage.
I didn't like when the show went super high fantasy. I never really liked it, except for that the dragons. I really thought the dragons were well done.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, when it got super deep into like the magical lore of everything, I'm like, yeah. A lot of people liked it because it was so kind of relatable. I think it felt a lot more realistic, but. he kind of lost me with like
Yeah.
all the big magic stuff.
Well, season 7 they ran out of book, so it's like it's a shorter season than the other stuff, and it was so clear they had nothing to go off of.
I don't remember what happened. I think that's the problem. I remember it being a setup for season 8.
Exactly, and because of that, the dialogue is literally the just one-liners. Daenerys' really good dialogue was cut down to "I am the rightful heir of the Iron Throne." And the next episode, "I am the rightful heir of the Iron," and then same thing with Jon Snow. "I don't want it. I don't want it." Like,
yeah. What was the scene where they fought the Night King for the first time and he kills a dragon? Was that season 6?
that was 7.
That was 7? Okay,
Yeah,
see,
7.
I thought I really liked that. So maybe that's where I'm remembering is that like I love the build up to him and like them realizing, oh my gosh, this is like a much bigger threat than we thought. And I think that was my biggest disappointment with season 8 when he died. Like, it's episode 2.
Yeah,
it's like,
well, no,
there it goes.
Season 7 has the scene. Do you remember Benjen Stark, the uncle of the Starks who got lost and got turned into a really cool wizard guy with a weird horse?
I think so.
Do you remember that at all?
That sounds cool. What is it?
That's the character. Like he rescued Bran and he says, "I'm your uncle." He was one of the Night's Watch and he went missing at the beginning of season 1 and he doesn't show up till way later to lead them to the crow guy that shows Bran his powers. Like, you don't remember him at all? Sounds like you don't remember him at all.
Been a long time.
Well, I wish you remembered because they killed him off in season 7.
Yeah.
And there's no build up to it. Like there's a part where the White Walkers are chasing Jon Snow right before he gets on the dragon.
Yeah.
And then Benjen Stark comes in. And he just rides past Jon on the horse, and he's trying to slow them down.
Yeah.
But so Jon can get on the dragon, and he literally just takes out one White Walker before he dies.
Oh.
You know, and he just like he's swinging his I forget what weapon it's called. It's the ball on a chain, but the ball's spiky.
Flail?
Yeah, flail. He's swinging the flail, and he takes one out, and he just dies. And I was like, he didn't even slow them down at all. And it's like they couldn't figure out what to do with the character, so they just killed him off. You know,
Nice.
and they did that with everybody. So I don't know. Yeah, season 7 was just really bad. The one-liners were awful. Character motivations were just like one
People
note.
stopped dying.
Yeah.
I mean, they stopped dying like a season before that
Uh-huh.
to the point where, like, you know, like everyone felt like they were kind of like the same problem The Boys has, where there's no stakes anymore, except
Right.
for those characters that they don't know what to do with, and you just kill them off.
Well, season 7 also killed off Littlefinger.
Yeah.
And the thing with Littlefinger was he always never personally did his dirty business himself. He always had people in his pocket, and those people had people in their pocket, so it wouldn't come back to him.
Yeah, exactly.
So in season 7, he's trying to pit Arya against Sansa. Like he's like, it's a corny scene where he's just like looking around the corner and he's like rubbing his hands. I was like, this isn't Littlefinger, dude. Like this isn't what he used to. He used to be like, you had no idea he was the one pulling strings on stuff.
Yeah.
When he betrayed Ned Stark, that was the only time you ever saw him do his business. And he's like, I warned you not to trust me. Like that was the only time he did stuff himself.
I mean, like the only disagreement I have is that he got really careless because of his obsession, you know, with Sansa. Like I think his death was like him groveling and begging is exactly what he needed to end with, you know. I think so. I think again, he just got careless. He thought he was on top. He thought he made, you know, like I don't think he ever had aspirations to sit on the Iron Throne, but I think he was in the place of power that he wanted to be, and he probably could get away with anything. So
exactly,
I think that's maybe what they're going for, and I liked it.
The line where it's like, you know, what's your motivation, Peter? And it's like, I want to be on the Iron Throne. I was like, no, you don't, bro. Oh my God, there's no way. Like I got my mom into the show, and she got to that scene. She's like, that's not going to happen. Like, there's no way you're going to be the one who becomes king. You know?
Sure.
And you know, based on his scenes before when he was well written and in the books, I was like, I never got the impression he wanted to be king.
Yeah.
Like that, he enjoyed, like you said, being from
Yeah.
He enjoyed pulling the strings and nobody knowing
Position
it was him.
of power, just in the shadows,
but
like,
nobody knowing it was him.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I see what you mean where he got careless. I would say the writers got careless, not him. You know, because
I'd like to see what how he's done in the books, or is he not a character?
He's a character. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
King. I remember. I still have to remind myself to this day that Bran becomes king, because it never ever clicked with me. Never ever clicked with me. I remember I watched one person who was like, "Why wouldn't they? Why is he not just the new Master of Secrets? He literally can see anything. It's like, that's genius." But no, King Bran.
But I'm willing to bet King Bran was how the books were going to end.
Maybe.
But I imagine in the books it was going to be.
I get the story sort of starts with him.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think I was disappointed. I thought he was the main reason the show started. Like, you know, he's the one that played Ned Stark that got him to come to King's Landing. He was the one that he manipulated the whole war. Like, he just did the whole thing. At the end, he's doing the guy wearing yellow in the memes or licking his licking his lips behind the tree. Like that. He never did that. He never did that. So I was disappointed. Like I get what you're saying. Like he got lazy. I was like, I think the writers were like, we got to get rid of him. Let's have it where he gets caught up and he gets caught manipulating things and kill him off. And I don't know.
I don't know. I truly do like how it ended, where it was him getting caught in his own web of lies. You know, like the only thing that was powerful enough to stop him was the bond that Sansa had with Arya. You know, like, and he tried to tear that apart, and that's what got him. You know.
Well, actually, though, I would say that they turned Bran into a walking exposition machine. So Bran's like, I saw in my dreams that he was the one who betrayed everybody. You know what I mean?
I said, I'd like to think, Caleb.
Because he didn't get caught. Bran just told them, yeah, he's manipulating you. You know. So like it was written so. I'm sorry.
That's how it was.
Exactly. Like they didn't even discover that he was the one pulling the strings. Literally,
Bran.
Bran had to have a dream about it, and that's how they revealed it. So. Yeah, I'm sorry, I disagree.
That's painful.
You know, because like honestly, like if I pulled you and said, "Hey, my wife dreamed that you've been, you know, stealing money from me, so now we're not friends anymore," wouldn't you be like, dude, like, what are you talking about? You know, wouldn't you want more proof? So anyway, I don't know.
Well, this is kind of cool.
What?
Random Italian scientists have successfully frozen pure light, turning into a solid for the first time.
Ooh.
That's kind of cool.
It needs to cure cancer next. No, I'm just kidding.
No, dude. Frozen light.
That is pretty neat. Anyway, I don't know, dude. Like, he didn't get caught. The walking exposition man. Well, I'm sorry, he couldn't walk. Sitting exposition man told them he was manipulating them.
That makes up for it, right?
Yeah. He was crippled. We got the crippled in there. Anyway, season 7 wasn't great. Obviously, season 8 was the worst out of all of them. I would argue the writing issue started with season 7.
Yeah.
They had characters they didn't know what to do with, so they just killed them off. Like the mother who poisoned Joffrey, like the scene where she poisoned herself and said, "I'm the one that killed Joffrey." They didn't know what to do with her, so they just killed her off.
That was such a cool build up to like who killed Joffrey. I remember that, but yeah,
I don't know. Anyway, so I want to talk about George R. R. Martin is not going to finish the books. It's not going to happen.
I don't think he can live long enough.
I don't think so either, because the 5th book, A Dance with Dragons, really cool title, because A Dance with Dragons refers to when the Targaryens rise up against each other, because they're all the dragon. So it's like A Dance of Dragons is when dragons fight each other.
Yeah.
Because they're not fighting. It's like they're kind of like dancing with each other. So that came out in 2011. And since you haven't read the books, let me tell you, that book made everything so much more complicated. Like it opens so many more plot lines. So you know how I think it's season 4 or it might be season 5. You remember Dorne, Pedro Pascal's people, like his character and his people. You know how the king was like the girls who danced killed him off. You know, they poisoned him, and he had the cane and he was trying to keep the peace with he was being a big wuss. In the books, that was a facade he did, where actually, like, he was pretending to be a wuss, and the girls still tried to rise up against him and do a coup because he wasn't being strong enough against the king of the seven kingdoms. In the books, that was a facade he put on, and at the end of the book, he says, "Here's my actual plan." His actual plan was he sent his son to go marry Daenerys, and through that alliance, they were going to bring everyone back to fight the Iron Kingdoms. The other thing too was what's it called? The Greyjoys. The Greyjoys had like 3 main characters that were going off to do their own thing. So there's Baron Greyjoy, Aeron. What the heck was his name? Whoever became the main villain like later on, like season 6. You know what I'm talking about? Dang, I forgot his name. And then Theon, and then Theon's uncle also was trying to go marry Daenerys. and he ends up becoming friends with another priest from the red lady. Yeah. He finds another priest that's like her, and he gets magic powers. He gets like one blacked out arm that's like glowing gray smoke.
Does he give birth as well?
No. And then, so here was a big one that I didn't expect because the show just didn't even bother doing this. Do you remember the lore behind the Mountain? How he killed the babies of the Targaryens? Like he went in and killed the actual babies. Well, it turns out that what's the guy's name? Shoot, I'm blanking on names again. Who's the bald eunuch? Do you remember his name?
Again, I want to say Littlefinger. It's not Littlefinger,
No, it's
but
not
it's like something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. The eunuch, he actually swapped the babies out when they were killed by the Mountain. So the Mountain killed just random babies.
Oh.
So Daenerys' brother.
So that's how the Targaryens lived.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, Daenerys had her thing where she was sent away, but the baby, the son, so like Daenerys had a brother actually who lived, and he was off on his own thing. Daenerys was her own thing. The baby was lived and being raised by the eunuchs people to be raised as another king. And then let's see, there's another big one. Oh, Mance Rayder. Like the wildling king.
Yeah.
He didn't die. You know how in the show they just killed him off on a stake. Well, in the books, the Red Lady actually just used her magic to turn someone into a Mance Rayder lookalike and hypnotized him to get him killed. And she actually took Mance Rayder and sent him off to go rescue Theon at the, so it's like, there's a, George R. R. Martin made it so complicated.
And the Men Without Banners, I think they were like a much bigger deal in the books.
Yeah. So, thank you. Is it Catelyn Stark? Catelyn? The mom character, the wife of Ned Stark.
Yeah.
So she died at the Red Wedding, like in the books, where she's like, I'm gonna kill your. In the books, it was his grandson, and it was like his autistic grandson.
Yeah.
So he's like, I'm gonna kill your grandson if you don't let my son walk out. And he said, well, that's my grandson, and he's kind of worthless because he's stupid. So go ahead and kill him. Just like in the show. The show did it pretty good too. Like, I'll kill your wife.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'll find another. Like I like that scene better than in the book.
Sure.
But so she dies, and then she gets her throat cut. Well, she does. She comes back, but she was raised by magic, and she can't talk because her throat slit. She's like a walking zombie, and she takes over the Brotherhood Without Banners.
Wow.
Yeah, so the guy that turns his sword into fire, he dies, but he passes his life essence to her dead body, and she comes back as like a zombie, and she can't speak, so she takes over the Brotherhood of Banners.
Is it magic that what they do? I never understood. I thought they were like spraying their swords with something.
But he couldn't die because like whenever he died, the magic would bring him back. So So he does die in the books, but he passes his life essence to her. They find her body floating in a creek that they threw her in after the Red Wedding. And so they bring her back. She's supposed to be like, I know you don't get this reference yet, but Gandalf, he comes back as Gandalf the White. George R. R. Martin hated that, so he brought her back, but not like, oh, she's more powerful now. Now she's like a zombie who can't speak. And she takes over the Brotherhood Without Banners. And that's a whole plot line, too, that like, the show didn't even bother with. So he made the book so much more complicated to where I was like, they're not going to be able to finish this, dude. Like that. I mean, so he's had writer's block ever since the show started, Book 5 came out in 2011 and book 6, it's like, we're in 2025, 14 years later. He's still not even, I think he's only like 80% of the way done with it. Wow. Because he made it so, like I said, so complicated. He had so many more characters to where it's like, I don't know how you're going to balance all this. And now he's paying for it. He's like, shoot.
You almost need like someone else to carry on, like the mantle. Because like, that's really interesting lore. Like, no, that's bad. That's really cool stuff. But man, that'd be so disappointing if it just like ends. Was Ramsay a big deal in the books?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He was one of my favorite villains.
So, he doesn't marry Sansa in the books. In the books, they pretend Littlefinger grabs one of Sansa's friends from the first season, but the first book, and he says, "This is Sansa," and nobody remembers what she looked like because the Starks were all killed and they were exiled and scattered. Nobody remembers that Sansa, like that's not what she looks like. So he grabs one of her friends, Jane Poole, and he marries her off to Ramsay. And he's like, "This is Sansa Stark," and he kept Sansa with him to kind of train her. after he kills his wife. I forget her name, but anyway. So he tells Ramsay, "This is Sansa Stark," and and Ramsay believes it.
Gotcha.
And Theon, since he turned into Reek, he's like, "That's not Sansa. I know what she looks like," but he doesn't say anything. So that's a whole plot line that again the show didn't even bother with. But again, he made it so complicated. Like everything that they cut short in the show was like its own whole plot line. So when the Night's Watch turns on Jon Snow, it was a lot smaller scale in the show, but in the books, like Jon Snow actually, I don't blame them for killing him in the books, because in the books he made the deal. In the show they made it where he made a deal with the wildlings, so we got to get rid of him. But in the books, Jon Snow actually was like he gets a letter from Ramsay saying, "Hi, I got your sister Sansa. If you want her, come get her." And Jon Snow, he's like, "Well, I'm not letting him keep my sister. We got to go save her." And the Night's Watch, they're like, dude, like we've cut you some slack on all these other decisions you've made, but this is one we cannot abide on. We cannot get involved in other political stuff. Like,
and that would be deserting the wall.
That would be deserting the wall. And he's like, "I don't care. We're going to go do it." Then they betray him. That was like their last straw.
Gotcha.
And I was like, I actually agree with that. Like you kind of effed up there. So, different in the show, but honestly, the show, man, they ran out of book, and he's nowhere near close to finishing it. So I don't know, dude. He made it so complicated to where it's like, how are you gonna finish this? And he's like 81, so it's like, I think he will finish Winds of Winter, but I really don't see how he's gonna finish the next book.
He was too busy writing the world lore for Elden Ring, surprisingly enough. But
exactly. So I'm like, this book took 15 years. I imagine if he gets this one out, he has to kill off all the plot threads he started, because there's no way to finish it, to where, obviously a theme of his has never been happy endings. And anyone that tries to get revenge in the books gets something bad happens to him. So like he's not big on happy endings. I actually think Jon Snow at the end of the show going back to the wall and being exiled. I think that's probably going to happen in the books, because that was a cool subversion of expectations. You thought he was going to be king, and then it's like, no, you're actually going back to the wall.
The burning of the throne probably. I didn't know how I felt about it at first.
I was so mad about that.
Yeah,
that was such a generic. Like, of course. How about this? Who gets the Iron Throne? Nobody.
No one. Except Bran. Kind of.
He had his own throne. He got wheeled around on. I was so pissed when he became king, because it was like Tyrion's like, he's a really good storyteller, so he needs to be king. And I was like, I tell good stories too. Nobody's trying to make me king of the Seven Kingdoms. And then at the end, when they rush the plot line of you're the queen of the North.
Yeah.
And the person who also wanted to be queen, what was it? The Iron Islands? The Greyjoy, the sister of Theon.
Yeah.
She wanted to be independent too. She just sits there and takes it. Okay, yeah.
Bear Island, yeah.
Yeah. She's sitting there like, the North should be its own land.
It's like, good for you guys.
Yeah, and then she just forgot
she
that's what she wanted.
made a big deal about it the first time she showed
up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And then she just like, I don't care if it happens to me or not. So I was like, it was so bad, every aspect of it. So I don't know. So you see, you didn't know how you felt about the Iron Throne being destroyed at the end?
I mean, it was a cool visual.
For sure.
And somehow, some way, it does feel poetic. I get it, because the dragon realized this was the reason that everything bad happened.
Yeah.
That was the interpretation, I think, and it makes sense.
Yeah.
So, in a sense, I do kind of agree with it. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's just, again, last second, dude. Last freaking second.
Yeah.
Just thrown in there.
In the books... this is cool. In the books, it actually is 1,000 swords on the throne.
Yeah, you told me that.
Yeah, and
they just don't have the budget for it. Sorry.
They don't. And I've always enjoyed George R. R. Martin's perspective on adaptations. Was like, look, like, I mean, if the money just doesn't exist, you'd have to build an actual cathedral to host the Iron Throne. It's like that. It's not going to happen.
Right.
So they got to make these cuts. He used to work in TV. He used to write. Shows.
Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah. Well, did he? No way.
Yeah.
Didn't know that. So he used to work in shows. He's like, they're never going to, I just know how the business is. Like, you can't afford to build the whole Game of Thrones thing. Like, I get that. So, I've always appreciated because there are other people, we talked about this, that Stephen King just hates every adaptation of his work. He can't stand it. They got it wrong. They got this wrong. And, bro, I think you should just be happy that they're making anything out of what you've created,
Sure.
So I think personally, but it's his work and he makes more money than me. So what do I know? He actually works in the industry, but George R. R. Martin's in his 80s and he still hasn't finished book 6. And if book 7 takes as long as this one does, they're both going to be huge, he said. They're both going to be big books. He's not going to finish in time. Yeah. And it's so weird because he hops on his blog and he's so optimistic about how, I'm still full of life. I'm like, dude, you're not, bro. You're big. Don't get me wrong. I'm not skinny. I'm not fat shaming, but you're big and you're in your 80s, dude. I
don't know. These people, for a reason, they live forever.
During COVID, he was having people deliver groceries to his cabin in the woods because he was worried about getting sick, and that's cool. I'm glad he's taking whatever precaution he wants to take, and it's his life. But I was like, dude, I really think he just needs to kind of give up and just quit writing, on these. I think he will finish book 7 if he is as close as he says he is. But
I just don't see
book 6.
Someone like him, throwing it he's one of those people, who's gonna write till they die. I think there's something cool about that. It's disappointing that it's probably never going to happen for, I almost call it Fire and Ice.
I mean, you're almost there.
Yeah.
Flip, and then don't forget to put the song in there.
Right, a little song. But I don't know, it's kind of cool, that he's just, I like how he's optimistic. I like how he's full of energy still, he probably has those same thoughts. No one's saying anything that he probably hasn't thought himself, for sure. But if you think that way too much, you're just gonna give up on everything. It's why should he do anything at this point?
Yeah,
so
that's fair.
I think he should keep going
because assuming he finishes book 6, which I think he can get that much out.
Yeah.
Book 7, I don't see how it's gonna happen. But he also has to take a break in between books because there's no way he wants to make book 6 and then just jump straight into 7. He said he's gonna write some stuff to kind of cleanse his palate before he gets. So I don't know, bro. He has X amount of years left on Earth. So, I just don't see how it's going to happen. And he started a new series, the Fire and Blood book. That's supposed to be more background of the Westeros universe.
Well, so is House of Dragon based on his books?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which that's a 2-parter. So he made book 1, and then he has to make book 2 to finish that. So
he didn't finish that either?
No. So I'm like, what are you doing?
Hey, what my biggest complaint with House of the Dragon was?
What?
When I knew, I was like, oh boy. It was, oddly enough, they didn't change the intro theme, which meant it told me that they're just riding on the coattails of Game of Thrones.
100%.
Which I'm like, I get that's, obviously, right? But at the same time, I was really looking forward to being its own thing. But it's just basically a prequel series.
I mean, even in the first episode, did you watch the whole show or no?
No, I fell asleep in episode 2 and never finished it.
I watched similar. I stopped at episode 2. I watched episode 1, and at the end, they couldn't even not plug Daenerys. This show's cool, but in the future,
there will be one.
There will be one, and she will fight the White Walker. I'm like, ugh. They just can't not do it. They have to do that. Okay, I forgot. The whole reason we talked about games at the beginning is because of the KOTOR remake never coming out. Speaking of stuff that's never going to be finished, they are insisting that KOTOR remake is still alive and well.
Yes, they are.
And it's Saber Interactive. It wasn't always Saber, though. It was there's a company before that working on the remake.
Which I think Saber's the best one yet, because they're the ones I think who did the Space Marine games.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I think they are.
Yeah. So it's past studio hands. I want to say more than one, but I don't know for sure. I didn't actually research that. But they announced the game 4 years ago. And I don't know who made this decision, but it has to be under Disney. Yeah. So I'm going to blame Disney for this.
Probably.
There was another company of fans who were already remaking KOTOR 1.
Really?
Yeah. They were called Aperion Gaming or something. And they were already working on a remake of KOTOR 1, and they showed models of it. They had other planets. They were adding planets to the game. Everything. They showed stills of characters like Bastila. They made her updated, and then they added her dialogue to it. It just looked really good. And then Disney sent them a cease and desist, so they had to scrub everything. It's hard to find anything on the internet anymore about it because Disney really cleaned it up. and then it was because they were working on their remake. So shortly after they made them cancel that, they announced, "Oh, so here we go. Like, here's our remake." And then 4 years since then, we haven't seen anything besides production issues.
I still think Saber Interactive is a solid enough studio now.
Yeah.
Post Space Marine 2, that first of all, I think they're going to do a really good job as long as they at this point just do it ground up. Like, forget whatever the heck they were writing on before.
Yeah.
I didn't like the person who was in charge of the writing team back then, the very first team.
In BioWare?
Yeah. No. I'm talking about like
the first part of the
KOTOR remake.
Yeah.
Because she was like this. She was talking about like wokenizing it, basically.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
And like, I don't think that's a thing anymore. But
I hope not.
If anyone's gonna do it, like, I hope they can get it out with this new team.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I want it so bad. I will play it a billion times.
I seriously am like, it has a KOTOR, like Knights of the Republic, the franchise has such a curse on it where nothing can ever be canonized. Nothing can ever make it to the mainstream audience for whatever stupid reason. Nothing ever reaches that far. So I'm like, a remake of that game, dude, that's gonna sell really freaking good.
Yeah.
Everyone's gonna buy it, dude.
Doesn't episode 9 though have a Revan reference?
No, episode 9 has a children's book tie-in that basically names off certain stormtrooper squads, and they're named after ancient Sith lords, and one of them is Revan. Good job.
Okay.
Good job to the one writer who was a
I'm
fan.
so glad you knew that.
Yes.
There's no way I would have known that.
No, because I looked it up, because I heard the same thing. I was like, no, what? Because they were like, oh, you can see a statue of him in the very background where it's super dark and, the lightning's going off. I don't even know if that's true, if it's him, but no, there's a stupid tie-in book. I'm just like, the one writer who Disney doesn't know what he put down. It's just like, oh, it'd be kind of cheeky if I put Revan in here and no one noticed. So
yeah,
but no, generally it's cursed because like they tried to put him in Clone Wars, and I actually do agree with this change, but George Lucas took him out, and he wasn't because of I don't know who the character is. Like George Lucas actually, he involved himself in a lot of projects back in his day.
Yeah.
And he had a really good reason for leaving Revan out. And he said, it just doesn't, like, I know Revan as a character, it just doesn't fit here. And Filoni agreed with them, even though Filoni really wanted to put Revan in. So, like, Revan's a great character.
Yeah.
And it's going to lead into something else. Like, who knows? If this is successful, would I KOTOR 2 remake? It's like...
Yeah, I think that's one of the only times George Lucas put his hand on something and it actually made it better.
I mean, maybe.
Yeah, because so there's a story. I know I've told this on the show, but he walked into LucasArts one day while they were working on Force Unleashed, and the reason that he's named Starkiller, his code name, is because they wanted to give him a real name, Darth something, and then George Lucas came in. He's like, oh. They had it written on the board, Darth, and then question mark or something. And he's like, let me fill that in for you. Darth Icky. And that will be his name. And then they were like, well, now it's a mandate. So it's like, well, okay, how about this? That'll be his name, but we won't put that in the game. So he's Starkiller. We'll just stick to the code name. We're not going to worry about, Darth Icky. So.
And he's just like,
yeah.
And he walks out.
Yeah. Literally, he walks, he's like, yes, Darth Icky.
No, it's really funny.
And they left.
Like, it's got to be so frustrating working under that. But, like, it's so funny, all the stories of just him. Any board meeting he can just walk into. He does, like, it has nothing to do with him, and he'd just be like, "Oh, what's going on here? You don't say. Oh, how about we change this little thing and they'll be all." And
it just ruined the project.
I remember. Okay, so one of the funniest ones. There was a Darth Maul game coming out, and like he walked in this board meeting when they're talking about the Darth Maul game, and like, oh, where do we put it? And then like there was a statue of a totally different character. Next to a statue of Darth Maul, and he literally walks up, he puts them together and says, "Look, they're friends. Let's put them together. Like they're going to be in the game together." And they're like, "Oh no, that statue of that character's like from like thousands of years ago. Oh well, maybe it's going to be a descendant. They're friends now. Goodbye." It's like, all right, George.
Like, dang it.
Goodbye.
We were so close to a game. Is that why the game was canceled? Because he just changed the whole story. Oh, yes, he has horns. He has horns. And yes, they rub horns together. Yes.
I love that. I love playing with my toys.
And then they have a child. That's how they have sex in this universe.
It's so beautiful.
Yes. No. I'm off to Whataburger. I'll see you later. What does he do at Skywalker Ranch? Because can you even call it Skywalker Ranch
he
anymore?
just yeah, sure he does. Starkiller Ranch. Yeah, he just chills, dude.
Yeah.
He freaking just chills. No, I love Lucas. I love making fun of him. I love him as just a creator in general.
Yeah,
but
we gave him a lot of crap back in the day, but once Disney started doing their thing, we're like, you know
Everyone's
what?
like,
He wasn't so bad. Yeah, he was at least passionate. His interview after Force Awakens was very eye-opening. He's like, they wanted to do a retro film. I don't like that. I worked very hard on the prequels to make them all different. And you know what? That's the least I can say about the prequels.
He had I don't know if he had the whole trilogy figured out, but I definitely believe he had another film figured out 100% top to bottom. They bought and they just scrapped it so that he couldn't use it.
Right.
So, or no one else could.
Right.
Unfortunate.
Yeah, because I think it was his idea to bring Maul back in episode 7 originally.
Really?
Yeah. And he laid out an outline. We'll never know what was fully on it, but I know somebody leaked like an outline, and it was supposed to lean more into the midichlorians and make it and just kind of dive into what they actually are. You know, like he was actually going to go the route of, okay, now let me explain the Force.
Yeah. I remember that.
And I want to say he originally wanted to bring back Darth Maul, but I could be wrong.
He was really, really surprisingly involved in Clone Wars. Like it wasn't just like a pet project that he gave to someone. He was involved in a lot of the episodes, and Dave Filoni said like, if I trust George 100%, if he says something doesn't work, that's not how it works. And he says, I know the Force more than anyone because I talked to George every single day when we were making episodes, and he watched every single one of them. So a lot of faith. I'm just like, that's good.
Sure.
So yeah, I believe like the Maul thing wasn't just like a fluke. I think that was a Lucas thing, which is interesting.
For sure.
Because like normally it would be just like you brought the villain back, you know, like go figure, right? But he had a reason for it. He had a story that wasn't finished.
Yeah, for sure. So that's a lot. I think Dave also had the guts to tell George, like, you know, we probably can't do that. You know, because like that was the problem with the prequels was nobody was like telling him, hey, that actually makes no sense. You know. Another thing too, I know I've said this, but he actually tried to not direct it himself. You know, he didn't want to be the director initially. He tried to find people to do it, but people turned him down.
Well, do you know why he I know why he couldn't. I don't know if this was the exact reason. I think it is because it would make sense. I don't think he's ever been part of the Directors Guild. So it was a union. And he couldn't use union people for his project. So that's why episode 6, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure he tried to get Spielberg to direct it, but he couldn't because he wasn't part of the Directors Guild at the time.
Okay.
So,
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's what happened with the prequels.
Yeah.
There's a famous story of his wife hating the film, I think, which is funny, but I really want to get inside.
So funny because they're divorced now. No, I'm kidding.
Are they?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. Actually, I know he talks about being divorced from somebody, so I don't know if it's the same woman.
I really want to get inside his head and try to see through his eyes what Jar Jar was supposed to be. Again, he famously said, Jar Jar is the center of everything. He really is.
He was going to be Plagueis. Plagueis the Wise.
Yeah.
Like in Robot Chicken.
Honestly.
Yeah. So you're talking about Jar Jar getting scaled back for the rest of the movies.
Well, I mean, eventually, I think he took the criticism to heart. He was like, "Yeah, we need to do that." But like originally, he was so excited about this character. Like, it was not like, "Oh yeah, it'd be funny for the kids." Like, yes, he would say that it was like to expand for a broader audience, but he was like really passionate about Jar Jar for some reason. Like, this is
it's in all the behind the scenes.
He said the center of everything.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that meant, George.
He's the key to all of this. He's a funnier character than we've had before. But if we can get him working, and then never showed up again. I mean, he showed up, but like he's so scaled back. Absolutely. So yeah.
Do you know what Disney did with him, Jar Jar, like the character?
In the books, right?
Yeah.
They turned him into a juggler.
A clown, yeah.
And then he was like,
He basically admits that he's the reason that everything went wrong in the galaxy.
Yeah. Dello Feligates. Yeah. I don't know. I feel bad for the actor that played Jar Jar.
Yeah,
obviously, because like
and Anakin.
We need to talk about we need to talk about that at some point where like people actors who did their role so well that people hated the character and hated the actor who played the character.
Dude, Hayden Christensen got lucky that people started loving the prequels again because like his other co-stars, dude, didn't make it out so well.
Well, he's not a bad actor. I mean,
no, but I mean like he was a toy. He was just a joke until I think. The prequel stuff started coming until Clone Wars, happened, and then when he came back, the standing ovation he got, when he made his appearance in Ahsoka, and the Obi-Wan show, like that. Yeah, I think like he made it out like and at the end, in the end, you know, it's almost like those Vietnam soldiers that eventually they get a standing ovation like 20, 30 years after.
Because at the time it was like, war, we hate it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
So kind of like that. But like young Anakin, whoever, I forget that actor's name, little baby Anakin.
Something, Jake Lloyd.
He got ripped. Just completely a new one.
And it wasn't his fault.
It was not his fault.
And it's
a
like
kid actor of all
people
things.
are insane. You know, Cowboy Bebop, same thing, the live action. Like, and that's not the only example. There's so many. The girl that plays Skylar, like, she got death threats. And it's like, why? She's not really Skylar. Like, it's a character.
Macaulay Culkin famously was like, he could never walk into public, like public spaces. Some people hated him, just like it was weird.
Cersei, the character played Cersei. Like,
I'm sure she got like the worst of it.
At conventions, like people were like, you know, getting signatures. You know how they all sit at a table and people are signing. They got to her and they give her a dirty look and then just skip her. I'm like, come on, dude.
Do they start spanking her and say shame? I bet you there's one fan who's like, that's my moment.
Everyone just started standing outside her house with paddles.
Shame.
Yeah. We need to talk. That's an episode right there. Like, get all the stories of people just like being driven to madness over being really good at their job.
Yeah.
If you hate a character that much to where you start hating the actor, they did their job really well. Yeah, you should be thanking them.
No one hates a bad like actor, I don't think, you know, or like bad character because they're acted bad. You know, they're remembered more. But
people are crazy. Same people that follow Robert Morris are the ones sending death threats to Skylar actress. So anyway, sorry, got a little
topical there.
Yeah, hot take. But that's the end of this episode, so I will not follow up on that thought.
No.
So all right, guys, we love y'all. Thanks for tuning in this week. We'll see y'all next time. We'll either hopefully talk about Harry Potter, or we will talk about maybe why I left Mercy Culture Church, something like that. I don't know. We can get one of those out the way. So
Sounds fun.
Or both next time we shoot. That'd be sick. See y'all next time, guys.
Have a good one.